Welcome to Stuck
I'm
Time to
sorry, I just lost
Improv.
my sound.
We're back in. Thank you for coming. We are talking about we want startups to be wildly successful. And today we have Dave McFarland from Focus OPEX, and we're going to be talking with an investor about what he and other investors look for in startups. Thanks for coming, Dave.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
So let's talk about what made you decide to become an investor and what kinds of things are you looking for?
So, what made me decide to become an investor? Well, I've been a consultant for a number of years, and being a consultant sometimes a little frustrating because you come up with these great plans and you tell the company all these things that they ought to do, and then they don't do them. So, I thought, well, what if I could use the same playbook, but I'm the owner of the company instead of just being someone on the sidelines. And so that was part of it, and the other half of it was just learning. I learned that this is something that's viable. I've met some people that are doing it, so I have a network of other investors now, and I just said, you know what, I think I can do this. So I just started doing it.
So, what particular industries are your focus at this point?
So my main outreach that I do is to manufacturers. So that's the space I really like. I specifically like component makers, contract manufacturers. So basically, the guys that are making the guts that go into other things. That's really what I like. And partly it's because that's what I'm familiar with. So I think in the last 10, 11 years, I visited about 150 factory floors of those types of businesses. So I'm very comfortable in that environment.
Are these like electronic things or are these other kinds of products?
Yeah, so electronics like printed circuit board makers, or sometimes they also call them box builds, cable makers, those types of things. But I also like metalworking, like CNC machine shops, sheet metal working, stamping operations, laser cutting operations, that type of stuff. And then also plastics, so plastic injection molding.
Okay. And I'm assuming 3D printing too.
3D printing, actually, it's funny. All of those industries might use that to some extent. So, depending on what they're doing, I still haven't found too many companies personally that do a lot of 3D printing for production work, but a lot of them still do that for prototype work. That's not to say that it's not viable. There are certainly people that do that, but the places that I run, it's still mostly prototyping.
Right. Well, it's the old adage about good, fast, cheap, pick two. And if you're going to be doing 3D printing, it's going to take a while.
Right, right. It's still and it's not inexpensive yet, right? So those things will probably get better over time. There's new materials coming out all the time. Loctite and Henkel, that corporation that you're thinking about making adhesives, they've invested heavily into coming up with new materials that can be used for, they don't call it 3D printing anymore. They call it additive manufacturing. Um,
Oh,
so so because they really want it to be that way, they want you to think of it as a real manufacturing process. And so yeah, there's a lot of effort going on in that space.
okay. So what kinds of attributes or systems do you want to see in a startup before you talk to them about investing in them?
Yeah, so startups are a tricky space, as you probably know. As far as early startups go, I don't consider myself as an investor. I really, it's almost like just pro bono work, right? So early startups, even though they might promise me equity or something, I basically just go in and thinking, this is pro bono work because, as you know, so many of them fail. So that they're not they if they make it past the first year, that's great, but most of them don't make it past 5 years. So I really go in that with my eyes open. And for early startups, usually what I'll do when I work with them is it's more about just that's cool. I really want to help them succeed. And so I'll do that. And then, I'm not a certified angel investor. but one of the things that I help startups with is I can find them funding. So that's one of the things that I will do, even if I'm not opening my checkbook. I can help them get the funding. And then the other thing that honestly with startups, based on what I know about buying businesses, one of the things I tell startups is, instead of just going out and finding all this funding and giving away all your equity, what do you think about finding a company that has a lot of the resources that you need and buying that company? And that's a new way of looking at it. A lot of startups don't consider that as a viable alternative, but it really is. And I'm actually in discussions with a company right now. I talked to them, it was almost a year ago, and they were doing a funding round. And I mentioned this to them, and they kind of went, hmm. But a year later, they said, Dave, let's have another discussion about that. How would that work? Right. And this works especially well for manufacturers, right? So they have an electronic product they're making. So they thought, okay, well, why don't we go out and buy a component maker that makes this component, and then we can still outsource the other activities. But now one of our core manufacturing functions, we already own the business, right? Because their plan was to have a factory. So why would you go out and get a bunch of money and do a greenfield and build the factory when you could just buy one that's already has most of what you want? It will really speed you up, and it also de-risks you, right? If you buy a company that's already viable and it's been around for more than 5 years, you're not you now have an asset that can help you grow. So that's one thing that I like to talk to startups about, because it's not in their normal playbook, but I think it's a
That,
good option.
that gives you the kind of collateral that it makes it easier to go for loans and things like that as well.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And if it's not quite what you're doing, retooling is less expensive than starting from brand new.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you do it right, I have another potential customer that they've come up with a medical device, right? But they're not really, historically, they weren't a medical device company. And so they're like, well, how do we do this? Do we start up a new factory? Do we do a joint venture? Do we license it? What do we would do? And so one of the options was, well, it's an electronic product. Go buy a small electronics manufacturer, and they basically have most of the skills that you need to build your product. And so, and if they're already profitable, then that can actually help fund your rollout of your medical device. So I think it's a viable option.
This is a really interesting take on alternative funding and a different approach to how to actually get something moving, maybe a little faster than you thought it could.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much, Dave McFarland. We'll put your LinkedIn contact in the comments so people can get a hold of you for more information. I'm sure people want to know what those alternative funding sources might be. So thanks again for coming.
Fantastic.
And
Thank you.
I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com. See how we can collaborate. And join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.